Hi, I'm Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics. Today I'm excited to show you how to make this adorable and useful bag, maybe for travel, makeup, jewelry, whatever you want to use it for. And because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we've chosen breast cancer fabrics in all these beautiful pinks to honor those that may be affected by breast cancer. Both of my grandmothers had breast cancer, and I know that some of my friends now have also been diagnosed. So if you have been touched by breast cancer or maybe know of someone that is battling now, this may be the perfect gift for them. Now, before I show you how to make that bag, I want to let you know that most of the women that I know that have been affected by breast cancer they found it during their mammograms. So if you are late for that mammogram, or if you've been putting that off, just pause this video, go make that phone call, please. Get that mammogram done, because early detection is obviously the key. So let's jump into how we make this bag. It's super quick and easy. You can absolutely do it. I've only put in a couple zippers in my whole life, so stay with me. I'm going to show you just how fast and easy this is. Now, on the front of the bag, we have the breast cancer ribbon. That's a shabby shape. We cut those here at Shabby Fabrics. It's called Shabby Shapes, and there's all kinds of shapes available. With the breast cancer ribbon, we have four sizes actually: small, medium, large, and extra large, and an array of beautiful pinks. Just look at how gorgeous all these pinks are. We also have the letters on the back side. Hope. You could put the person's name, or love, or something else available. Now, we will have this exact kit available on the website, but if you want to put a different message on the back of the bag, you can always go and just buy the monograms and put whatever you want on the back of the bag. So let's get started. Again, super simple. Now, these measurements are written on the actual fabrics I'll be using, but on the home page of the Shabby Fabrics website, at the very bottom, there's a link that says free downloads. Just click that and all of these measurements will be there. So don't worry about writing those down right now. The first thing that you'll do with your bag is the upper portion and the bottom need to be sewn together. Now, you'll have two of the top portions of the bag and two of the bottoms. We have the lining. Let's put that aside for now. We're not going to use the lining for a little bit. We'll be using the fusible fleece, the top and the bottom. First step, very straightforward. You'll just be placing those right side together and sewing 1/4 inch. So let me just show you here. Just as you would expect, line up those edges, sew 1/4 inch, and then I want you to press that seam open. That way you don't have a kind of a noticeable bump there. Press the seam open. Then, this is a fusible fleece. It's bumpy on the one side. That's the side that has the fusible. Once this is sewn together, and of course that would be your seam, you just place this right side down on your pressing mat with the bumpy side, that's the fusible, on the back side, and iron that. Now, I've done that step ahead of time, so let's just go ahead, and that's what it would look like. You've got the fusible on the back. Now, if you are going to go ahead, then of course you'd want to put that in for the breast cancer. This will be in your kit. You can order those separately if you want to use your own fabric. This is how fun and easy this is. Just simply peel off the fusible. Now, watch how I did that. I do this out of habit, so I sometimes forget. Some people have difficulty getting the paper off the back of the Shabby Shapes, off of anything that's been fused. Here's what I do. I just kind of turn it over with my thumb like that, and it just releases. And it doesn't damage or fray the fabric. Now, you would just place that into position. Of course, measure left to right, get your center. I'm just going to eyeball it for the moment, just so I can show you. And all you need to do at this point is just take it and press it. I like to use a medium heat, holding it there 5 or 6 seconds. You don't want to get too hot with fusible webbing, because sometimes it will fail. Now, let that cool before you do too much handling of it. Now, what we did on ours, and I want you to see this, we went ahead and stitched all the way around that ribbon, but the way that we stitched it made it kind of show like it's three-dimensional. Obviously, this is one piece of fabric, but how you sew it will help it give that 3 dimensions. So you could go in with your friction pen and just kind of draw that line there and up here too. And that's kind of your sewing guide, so to speak. So I want you to see that. I want you to see how I just drew those lines in there. And now when I go in and sew, I'll just sew this section as one unit. Then I'll go sew that center as one unit, and then this section as a unit, and then the bottom. And it helps give it that little bit of that 3 dimensions. So, and then you'll do the same on the back side. So once all the shabby shapes are sewn down, then we'll go to the next step, and let's do that right now together. The next step will be to get your ruler. You need to quilt this. Now, you're going to have the front of the bag and the back of the bag. So obviously you'll have 2 of these. You'll get your ruler, and again, this is where I love that friction pen. I'm going to measure, so as your seam, measure down 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and then from that line, you'll measure another 3/4 of an inch. Now don't try this with an ordinary pen. This is the friction pen that erases with heat. So if you have another temporary marking tool, that's great, but just don't use just an ordinary pen, because those lines won't come out. Now we only did 4 lines because down here, this is gonna all be tucked under the bottom of the bag down here. So it's not necessary for that to be quilted. So what you'll do then is simply take that to the sewing machine, use a pretty pink thread that you like, and you're just gonna straight stitch that. You'll repeat that for the other unit as well. So we've done that ahead of time just to save us some steps. So that's what this is what our 2 halves look like. See the quilting on the back of both of those. So now at this point, the lining does come into play. Let's put this off to the side. You'll do the 2 sides exactly the same. So what I do now, you'll do for one side, and then you'll repeat it for the other. So with the lining right side up, and I've got the long side in front of me, you'll go ahead, right side up, put your zipper, doesn't really matter if the clasp is left or right, also right side up, so you have about the same amount hanging over on either side, and you'll want to go right along that top of that lining fabric. And now you'll want to take this and go right side down. So now you have a little sandwich. Now I'm going to go ahead and pin, and I'm going to take my zipper foot, and I'm going to sew along here. Now, if you've never used your zipper foot, I want to show this to you, because when I'm a quilter, primarily a quilter, although I'm starting to fall in love with all these gadgets on my machine because they do really cool things like put in zippers. This is a zipper foot. I wanted to show it to you. There's a center bar. There's kind of like a center divider, I should say. And then there's a bar here where you can either put this on the machine on the left side or on the right side. I have found to put it on the left side works better for me, because it keeps me a little bit further away from my zipper so I can tuck in a little bit closer. You might already have your own technique, but if you've never used your zipper foot before, try this technique. You've got the center bar, the center divider, I should say, and then the bar. Try putting this onto your shank on the left side, and you'll see me sew with that. So when I come back, this is already going to be pinned. I'll be at the sewing machine and we'll start sewing, and you can see how the zipper foot performs. Okay, so half of my bag is done. So what you'll do now is, let me show you this next step. So you've got, it looks like this. Now bring those corners together. And I like to pin. I always want everything to line up real nice. You're gonna pin all the way around, okay? You're gonna smooth this all out. It's all pinned, and then you're gonna go back. You can keep your zipper foot in there, and you're just gonna sew about 1/8 of an inch doing the top stitching, and that's just kind of to hold that together and kind of enclose all this. It just kind of, well, let me show you on this bag right here. See the finished look it has? It's just so stylish, and it just seems to kind of now make this be a unit instead of just two individual things, kind of one's over here and one's over there. Now, as far as using the zipper foot, how to get that 1/8 of an inch is you just kind of get that visual 1/8 and you just try to maintain the same distance from the needle to the presser foot the whole way down. When I come back, this will be top stitched and then we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and I'll set up the other side with you because I want to make sure you see me do the whole thing rather than me skipping ahead too many steps. So when I come back, this will already be top stitched and I'll take you to the next spot. Now that I've top stitched right here, the layers together will repeat the same with the other lining and the other half of the bag. So let's repeat that. Lining goes right side up, zipper goes right side up. Now I want to point out, you want to make sure you stack the lining exactly beneath this half so you're not askew left or right. So you want to take a little bit of extra time to make sure you are truly lined up real good. And then with your other bag half, you'll go right sides and pin and sew. Now consequently, I wanted to point out something. I had you trace with the friction pen. My favorite disappearing act is always after you've sewn, quilted it, to just get rid of the lines, all you need to do is just take a hot iron and they're gone. So that's one thing I should have mentioned to you before, but I wanted to mention it to you now. So again, lining right side up, zipper right side up, other half of the bag, make sure your emblem is right side up. Sandwich that, pin it. With your presser foot, you're going to sew. Just like before, you're going to flip that, pin those together, do the top stitching an 1/8 of an inch, and when I come back, I'll take you to the next step. Now that the two halves are sewn to the zipper and we've top stitched, now let me show you this really cool way to finish the bag. You'll take your two lining pieces and you're going to bring those together. Now before you do this, because you do have to turn the bag through, go ahead and unzip the zipper a pretty good distance, I would say most of the way, because you will be turning the bag through that opening. So that's a very important step, otherwise you won't be able to turn it outright. Now when you put the right sides of this together, I want you to notice the teeth of the zipper here. We want the teeth of the zipper going toward the lining, okay? So you see how that's kind of pointing to the top of the lining. You want to make sure that both sides of the zipper are doing that. And you're going to go ahead and bring those together and you'll just pin. And you'll pin all the way around. And of course you keep pinning. And you're going to do the same thing with this part of the bag. Keeping those teeth going toward the lining, okay? So you'll just kind of have to make sure everything is good and smooth. I'm going to take a little while here and make sure everything's pinned. Now right there, you want to make sure that comes together properly. So you want to line that up, put a pin in, you get the idea. Take your time pinning this thing to make sure it comes out right. So when I come back, I'm going to have mine all pinned. And then what I'm actually going to do, you don't even need to do this together. Let me just tell you what I'm going to do. Once this is all pinned, you need to leave the opening on the lining itself. So coming in from the corner at least 2 inches. I want you to start at least 2 inches in. Start, reinforce, go all the way around, go over the zipper. It's a little bulky there. So the zipper foot can handle it, but you might have to kind of hand crank it and kind of just finesse that area as best you can. Go all the way around, come back around. Again, come in 2 inches and then stop. And then at that point, we'll be taking to the next step, which is boxing our corners and finishing up the project. So pin, pin, pin all the way around, making sure the teeth are going toward the lining. Start 2 inches in, reinforce all the way around, go all the way in 2 inches, and then we come back, we'll take you to the next step. Now that I've sewn all the way around the bag, I've got my opening where the lining is, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to the corners and I'm cutting on the diagonal about a 45-degree angle because we'll need to box the corners. I'll show you how to box a corner, and we'll be doing the same thing to all 4 corners. Now the other thing that we'll do while we're here, and I don't recommend you do this with a rotary cutter, is actually trim off the zipper. So anything that's extra, go ahead and just trim that away, just like that. Don't be afraid of that. And if your zipper foot gives you greater than a 1/4 inch seam allowance, you can even snug that up, because the more zipper that's trimmed away, the less this will have this little indentation. That's what's causing that on both sides, is that's just where the zipper kind of dives into the bag. So you can trim a little bit snugger there if you want to have less of that tuck in. How to box a corner. Now, pretty straightforward. One thing that will probably make this a little bit easier for you to box the corner is if you actually press these seams open. Now, I'll just show you this on the one corner. I'm just going to press this open a little bit so you can see why pressing it does kind of help you see where you're supposed to go in order to box the corner. So you'll need to get a small ruler like a 6.5, which I love to use, 6.5 square, and then like a friction pen, some kind of marking tool. So I'm just gonna, now I would press this whole thing all the way around, but just to save time, I'll just do that corner real quick. So let's get our 6.5 inch Olfa, OmniGrip, whatever brand. I love that ruler, and then grab yourself a friction pen. Then you'll have to kind of reach inside your bag, and you're going to basically take that and push it down, okay? I want you to see that from above. So I've got the seam below, right, and that's running underneath, and the seam, and I want to feel for this seam to run right on top of the other one. A little bit awkward to deal with, especially because it's kind of inside. Let's move that out of the way. Okay, so I've got this seam kind of sitting on top of this one underneath, just like this. Now this is where I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm looking for 3 inches left to right. Actually, yeah, right to left. The 1.5 inch mark, which is halfway between my 1 and my, or the 0 and the 3, is what I'll put on my seam right here, like that. And I'm looking for the beginning of the ruler and the 3, and there it is. And I'm going to draw that line right on there. So now I know that I'm centered up. Now I like to go ahead and pin this. I like to pin this before I take this to the sewing machine. I don't want this going anywhere or shifting on me. Okay, so what you're going to do, let's just do it together. Let's go and we'll box that corner together. Now, you are done with the zipper foot, so you could be going back to a regular pressing foot at this point. I'll just, for the sake of time, leave the zipper foot in there. It's not a big deal because I'm just sewing on that drawn line. So we're going to sew that, and because of the bulk, you definitely want to make sure those seams are lying open, because you can imagine if they're pressed to one side, it's just a lot of bulk to manage. So you might have to kind of finesse it a little bit, just like you do any other project. Get that seam open. There we go. Okay, then when you take this back to your pressing mat, or I'm sorry, rotary mat, now you're just going to cut that off with about a quarter inch seam. So that's how you box a corner. You're going to do the same for this corner and this corner. This is why you had to come in the 2 inches, because you needed to have enough room to box. So same thing, all 4 corners, and when I come back, I'll have all of my 4 corners boxed and I'll take you to the next step. Now that all 4 corners are boxed, I want to show you what that looks like. All 4 corners. Now my favorite part is turning the bag, of course, right side out and seeing what we've created. Of course, you're going to, make sure everything is pressed out, kind of with whatever tool you like to use to make sure all the corners are coming out nice and smooth. And then what you'll do with regard to the lining, and you can even, I would do this step now. Take this to your pressing mat, tucking that under the 1/4 inch, just like this. Tuck it under your 1/4. Take it to your pressing mat. Now this is going to be at the very bottom of the bag. I wouldn't whip stitch this closed. I would just take this to the sewing machine. Go ahead and straight stitch that closed. Go ahead and put that into the bag all the way to the bottom, and your bag is complete. Now, please note, we have other breast cancer projects as well besides the makeup and project little handy bag to have. So if you do, and somebody might enjoy wall hangings, be sure to check out our Little Blessings pink ribbon wall hanging, which is also available exclusively from Shabby Fabrics.